Thanks, Eric. Well, that was a very good summary of the market situation. I suppose I normally like to kick a presentation off like this with a joke. I don't have one for you today. I think the market's a big enough joke for us at the moment. We're all sort of struggling, and I think, crying in our beer a little bit about sort of metal, not metal prices. Metal prices, of course, are doing very, very well. And if you'd have told me, 10 years ago that copper would be $4, gold would be $2,000, and we weren't rolling in cash, I wouldn't have bothered. But here we are today. And I think, one observation on that side of things is that, we're all very fortunate here in that there are just bargains everywhere in this market. It's quite incredible. And I think, it takes a little bit of time for the metal prices to flush through. The majors are all increasing in price. Mid-tier guys, you're seeing a lot of M&A now. And eventually it flushes down to the sort of mid-tier and junior sector. And I think that's coming soon. So now is a great time to get yourself positioned. I'm certainly deploying a lot of capital myself and our team and partners. And we're seeing, anecdotally, a lot of interest from generalists. They've been out of the mining sector for a long time, but you're starting to see them come back, guys like T. Rowe Price, trillion-dollar funds. And so I think we're about to see something special here, and we're going to see one of the great booms of all time. I've got to thank Eric and Matt and the team at Metal Investor Forum. I think this is one of the very best conferences because you have an immediate automatic filter in the companies that you're seeing, that they've all passed through some of the brightest brains in our business and are supported by some of these great newsletter writers here. So thank you to the team there. Look, last time I was here, I think I presented Vizsla Silver, and Vizsla Silver was probably trading in around 40 cents at that time. It's since gone to $3. It's trading up around $2 today. And then the previous time I presented at this conference was our ISO Energy, where we made the Hurricane uranium discovery. And I think, ISO was at 30 cents when I presented then a few years ago. Traded as high as $5, now sits around $3. So you can see some value here. And what I'm about to present is Vizsla Copper. We're trading at 22 cents today. Let's see if we can't get that into the dollars and north of a few dollars in the near term. I think we can. I think we've got some fabulous projects, but the thing that's going to help us get there is the copper price. And Eric hinted at what I might say here. Look, I'm super bullish on copper, of course. I had the privilege of working for a fellow called Owen Hegarty in Australia, and Owen was my mentor and partner. And Owen, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, started a company called Oxiana, and he took Oxiana from I think it had a $6 million market cap to a $6 billion market cap by the time we left the company. And he was on record as saying that the copper price was going from 70 cents to $4. People laughed him out of the room, but by the time 2008 came around and we started our partnership, the copper price had indeed done that. And I think here we're about to see the copper price go through $20. Driven by those fundamentals, the demand side fundamentals that Eric talks about, met with a seriously challenged supply side. I just can't see where you're going to see a serious supply response. I've got the privilege of being on stage here with Tim Moody, who was my boss 20 years ago at Rio Tinto. And we had a project there in Peru called Mina Justa. Now, Mina Justa has just been commissioned by my friend Simon Smirlak at Asenco Engineering, who's on the board here. That took about 20 years to go from an exploration stage project into production. It's a high-grade copper project. It's only going to do, it cost $2 billion in 20 years to get that thing into production in Peru. It's doing 104,000 tonnes of copper a year. I can't see too many other projects that look like that out there today. And we only need, according to Trafigura, another 70 Mina Justas. 70 of those sorts of mines. Hundreds of billions of investment to get a decent copper project up and running, and I can't see where they are. So I love copper. I think it's going to $20. Could go as high as $30, and now is the time to get absolutely set in copper investment stories. Here we have a great one. We spun Vizsla Copper out of Vizsla Silver a year and a half ago. Vizsla Silver, of course, has been a tremendous success. We started Vizsla Resources, in fact, to look for copper projects. We've been trying to put our foot on as much copper around the world as we can. And I suppose another insight there is that we've really struggled on that front. We've found some good projects now, but there aren't many out there, I can tell you that, quality copper projects. Here we've got a brilliant one. We've got nearly 2 billion pounds of copper in the ground already, 1 million ounces of gold, although I think that will grow very, very quickly when we get drilling here. And we've got a princely market cap of about $17 million today. The share structure, very tightly held. We've got 68 million shares out. We just raised $6 million, and I suppose it's not easy raising money in these markets, but we had good support from the markets, and a lot of our team wrote big checks. My partners and I are putting $1.5 million into the business at this stage. So, we're well supported by the market. We've got great funding now to get in and start drilling come June. I'll skip the copper stuff. I've covered that already. Very, very simply, look, the Woodjam project, a little bit of a mythical project in British Columbia here. It's up near Williams Lake, 55 kilometres east of Williams Lake. There's roads crisscrossing the property. There is power to the property. We're just south of the Mount Polly mine, of course, a major copper producer for Imperial Metals there. The thing about this property, it was owned by Consolidated Woodjam and Bill Morton. They did a tremendous job, and wherever they drilled on the property, they found porphyry copper mineralisation. So it's been a project that really delivers exploration success at an important time in the market. And here you see real interest returning to British Columbia. Until recently, I was the chairman of Skeena Resources. I know that British Columbia is a good place to operate. You can get things done here, and if these investments are anything to go by, there's a real resurgence in exploration and development in British Columbia coming. A little bit about the geology. This terrain, the Quesnel Magmatic Arc, is a well-renowned porphyry terrain. I think British Columbia actually has an opportunity to become the next Chile of copper production. I think it gets a bad rap for having low-grade porphyries, but not everything is like that. And you'll certainly see on our property some really high-grade porphyries. There are some spectacular results coming out of a lot of projects here in BC today, and I think you'll see the same here. Flat terrain, importantly year-round drilling. We're going to kick off our first drill campaign in June, and then I expect that we'll be drilling for many, many years to come here as we test the targets we've got. Just on the low-grade nature of things in British Columbia, our resource base at the moment is 0.4% copper equivalent, but what we've found in the database when we dove into it is some really spectacular results. 51 metres there at very, very high grades, 1.6% copper and 0.4 gold. One of the better intercepts there was 110 metres at 2.5 grams gold and 0.4 copper. So whilst BC porphyries get a bad rap, there are actually some very, very high grades in some of these systems. Quickly here, we've done a mag survey now. I've been doing porphyry copper exploration for over 20 years now, and I'm always excited when you get one or two discrete mag targets on a property. Here we got 103 targets, so we've got a huge number of targets to test, and that's coming up soon. Zooming in on some of these areas, I mentioned the high-grade nature of these systems. Unfortunately, the previous explorers didn't have the funding to support major drill campaigns. But where they did drill, they got some spectacular results. So our job is so very, very simple here. We're simply going to test a long strike from these high-grade intercepts, and I think we're a very, very good chance of putting out some pretty spectacular numbers. And you can, and of course, if you look in recent history, Kodiak Resources, one of our friend John Robbins' companies, he took that from a 10 million market cap to a 60 million market cap on drill holes just like this. And the market is not really fully aware of these spectacular drill hits that we've had on the property over the last 10 years. So very, very simple job. We're working on exploration models as we speak. There's a strong structural control to this porphyry mineralisation. We're working that out as we go, and we'll be drilling in and around some of these high-grade hits come June. So again, megabuck zone, Lots of other targets nearby, but again, very straightforward job of following up previously drilled high-grade hits. And the southeast deposit, again, very, very similar. High-grade mineralisation that hasn't effectively been followed up. So it's a really high-impact exploration we're coming up with. We're well-funded now, $6 million in the bank. We've got an 8,000 metre drill campaign kicking off in June, and we'll be drilling in and around those high-grade zones and building on that large resource we've got and looking to build a very high-grade resource in the near future. So thank you very much.